And welcome back. And we're moving into our second conversation for today, talking about the University of Belize's Social Work Conference 2017. The conference is being held under the theme, Promoting Community and Environmental Sustainability. We have with us this morning to give us all the details, Azalea LaRue, who is a lecturer at the Social Work Department, and we have Erin Gabriel, who is the treasurer of the Social Work Student Association. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Marlene.
Thank you for having us.
So let's just talk a bit about the social work program that is available at the University of Belize. It is a very popular program, and tell us the details about it.
Okay, the social work program from the University of Belize, it has become very popular.
Yeah.
We've had a large enrollment so far.
Yeah.
It's a associate's program as well as a bachelor's program.
Okay.
At the moment, we're moving into it being a fully bachelor's program, but that's in the progress.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that that can be by next year, but we're not sure when it would be. It is a part-time program as it is, because it's what it does, it really targets people that have been working already.
Yeah. So it's more professional development or like a certification for those who have already been involved?
No. It's an entire program. They get the Bachelor's of Social Work degree, but it's just part-time, in which they can have the opportunity to work throughout the day and still come at the evenings to take the classes. It's a 4-year program usually.
Azalea, what seems to be the common denominator from students as to why they want to study social work?
The common denominator would be, I want to help people. That's, and that is a question I ask in intro to social work.
Yeah.
Why is it that you're taking this course?
Yeah.
I want to help. I want to make a difference. I want to make changes. And that is exactly what social work is about.
Yeah. And Erin?
Yes, ma'am.
What year are you in your program?
This is my 4th year. I'm enrolled in a bachelor's program.
Oh, fantastic. So tell us a little bit about why you sought out the social work program at the University of Belize.
I totally agree with Ms. LaRue. We want to be change agents in others' life.
Yeah.
Basically because of what I've been through in my community, what I've seen, the violence, the crimes, all that is happening. I want to be the change in someone's life. I want to be the advocate, not only for them, but also for me.
Yeah. Now, what has been one of the things that you've learned in your program that you didn't realize was going to be so important in social work?
Working with the communities, in building, having initiatives and making changes, working on the macro level social work, whereby you will go into the communities and allow them to actually come to that realization of the issues and the problems that is not affecting only one person, but everyone on a whole.
Yeah. Good.
Erin is actually in my macro social work class at the moment.
Okay.
We actually just had that last night, and where we spoke about macro social work.
So macro social work meaning the wider community.
The wider community, right.
Yeah.
And that is what this year's theme is all about, promoting community and environmental sustainability. And you may ask, what is social work doing with communities? But social work works on different levels. We have the micro level, where clinical work, you might be one-on-one. We're doing the helping process with the students, with teaching them about that. And we also have the meso level, which we work with groups and families. And then the macro level is the community on a wider stage.
Yeah.
So
because it's all important. I think when we think, and let's take an honest look at our society right now. We know there's so many challenges, and I think the wider community, those who aren't involved in any form of intervention or organized process, can very easily say, well, what's human development doing? What are the social workers doing? Why are these kids on the street? Why are parents not being penalized by the police department? So we look at the different areas and point blame, but when you look at it as social workers and almost graduated social worker, what's your perspective on the issues that we're seeing?
Our perspective is that it starts within homes. It starts with us in the community. So instead of blaming, why isn't the government doing something?
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing something as well? And we have, at our conference, we will be having some grassroots organizations. So we have people that are very passionate about making a difference as well. They might not be social workers, but they have come together with a common purpose, wanting to make a change. So I believe that yes, we need to look at what we can do for our community as well.
Yeah. One of the greatest misconceptions, not a misconception, I think one of the things that I oftentimes hear is when people think of social work, they think of, when they say social, they're talking about your individual social worker who perhaps has to do an intervention in a family. How do you work? And I want to ask you as a young student, because you interact with many people and you say, oh, I'm going to be a social worker, I'm studying social work. And they say, oh, you're going to go tech with people, pick me, right?
I've heard that so many times, and and I totally agree. And people actually look on social work as being a profession that doesn't pay much, and they actually would say, well, as you mentioned before, that you will take away people's children, and why do you want to be a social worker? But it's a passion that you have to have towards working with other people and to look out for their needs and try to stand up and have initiative and have different drive in bringing those needs into realities.
Yeah. So looking at the conference, and you are actually having it this week, but National Social Work Day was last week, right?
Right.
So
the entire month is actually dedicated to social work. It's the Social Work Month. That's March. The International Federation of Social Workers, I had posted, but they actually have March 21st being the World Social Work Day.
Okay.
I think it's always the second week.
Okay.
But we decided to end the World Social Work Month with our conference to wrap up everything, to highlight what social workers do, and to bring to the table that social workers are not only on a micro level, they only do clinical work, they only work at the human service department. No, they're on a macro level. We do policy development. We're able to make changes through that. We do program development. Those are part of what social workers do on a macro level.
So let's talk a bit about the conference and some of the details there, right?
Okay.
So community and environmental sustainability. So the first question people are saying, what does social work have to do with the environment? Don't you work with people?
Yes, ma'am.
So go ahead and answer that question for me, Erin.
What's up with people?
We don't actually mainly base on working with people. We have to look at the resources that we have, and we know that Belize on a whole, we have so many resources, and at times people are limited to those resources. So we as social workers, we need to stand up and allow people to know, look into agencies, look into places where they can get those resources, and to actually educate them, help them to realize what we have as a nation and how they can empower themselves in sustaining what we have and using what we have, rather than being limited to those resources.
And looking at the community aspect, I know, as we pointed out earlier, it really is a crucial time in the country with some of the social issues that we are facing. The community does rise to the occasion in certain instances. We had the example of the Majestic Alley fire. Instantaneously, people were finding ways to be able to give back for those who'd lost something. We see it after disasters, natural disasters, that is, that people would rise to the occasion as well. But there's some social ills that people just don't know how to get involved. And a lot of those have to do with violent crime. Let's talk about what you hope in this conference and through this media appearance that you'd hope the community would be able to understand about our role in helping to build a community.
Okay, the conference itself has 4 different segments, and we're starting the first segment with the economy indicators, the statistics of what is happening, what is really happening in numbers in Belize. And moving after that, we're going to be talking a little bit about the natural resources and how do we create sustainability for our community, because the people living in our community need those resources to live
Yeah.
So the first segment will be from the Cane Farmers Association, and he'll be talking about how does that promote sustainability in the northern Belize. And the second portion of that would be bringing in the Baboon Sanctuary, individuals from there. I mean, that's a project, an incredible community organization project that uplifted that community. Following that, we'll be talking about healthy living as well, and crime. We're actually going to be looking at crime reduction. Where do we stand right now? How do we hope to make change within crime? It's not easy. It's not something, as I said, it's not something that we could flip a switch and say, okay, we're going to wait for the police to do something. It's not in that format that we can make a change. But again, for me, it's always been within families, where we start, within families, to make that difference. Right now, our department is working through with our internship program with the Belize Police Department, and they're doing a lot in terms of having our students do some group work with the at-risk youths as well. And those are little initiatives that you don't think will make an entire difference to the country, but it does. It does promote that within our youths, and that's where we should look at. One of our students actually shared a mural. I don't know if you guys have passed through the Mayflower area where they have the mural.
Yes, I've seen it. Yeah.
Right. She actually shared that with us last night, and I said, this is exactly what we're speaking about. We were speaking about the strengths perspective, and how do we bring about what is strong in our community and not the weaknesses. And that is something I've noticed in a lot of our students. It's very hard for them to look at what is strong. They look at it and say, oh, miss, but shooting every day in my community, you don't understand. It's very hard. We can't walk the streets without a bullet hitting our head anytime. So it's hard for them to look at what is strong within our community, and how can we actually have our community members take ownership of the community. So I think that is what we need to do, and that is exactly what happened with the mural. They involved the youths in doing this mural and taking art up, doing this mural, and now it's theirs. They have owned that art.
And it gives a whole new life to just that one portion of it. You know, that was very common in Brazil, in the favelas. They got a lot of artwork done in some of the poorer areas. Erin, you made a point of saying that you've seen what happens in your community, and you wanted to be able to make a difference by going into social work. Talk to me about how your perspective has changed over the past 4 years, being in the same community and now having this additional knowledge.
Yes, well, what I've looked on some few years back, there was this young man. He was 9 years old, and I believe each one of us heard about it, that he died from gun violence. And looking at my community, I've seen that as Ms. LaRue said, we looked on the strengths, and my perspective have changed that, you know what, there are people who are crying out. There are people that who wants to stand up for what they need, their rights, their what they need on a whole. So looking at the community, my perspective have changed, that it doesn't only start with
the police or
it has to start with that willingness and that drive in wanting to be that change.
Some argue that given the state that Belize is in certain pockets of Belize, not all areas, people become fearful of being involved within their communities. In other words, if I see that my neighbor is perhaps not offering the level of attention that their teen or preteen boy needs, and he may be led astray, if I get involved, I may cause more problems. How do you help someone to move past that thought and realize that in that particular situation, it is only them who can help because they've identified the problem?
I agree. In Belize, I think it's cultural that you don't want to be looking over at your neighbor and, I mean, who are you to come tell me? You know what to do. Who are you to? I mean, you're not any better. So I think a lot of that has to do with creating relationships, one, and two, with reporting certain crimes as well, instead of just going to someone and say you shouldn't do that,
Yeah.
or that's not right, because whether something is right or wrong, again, it's perspective. So I think we need to know when to report certain crimes as well in our community. I wanted to add one more thing in terms of the conference, because one of the highlights in the conference is the Belize National Association of Social Workers.
Yes, I saw that.
We will be, it has been something that it's non-existent in Belize. And that creates an issue, because if it's non-existent, then what accountability do our social workers have? What protection do they have as well working out there? So what the Belize National Association of Social Workers hope to do is just that, is to offer protection, is to offer training for social workers and professional development. It's to offer that accountability to what do I do in certain situation, where do I fall back. Right now in our program, we use heavily the United States Code of Ethics. That is something we want to start creating for ourselves. Not moving away from the National Association of Social Workers, which is the United States Code of Ethics and the United States Association, and building what is ours, right? And that would move us into having certificate, having license for social workers as well.
So currently our social workers don't have to be licensed?
Currently, as far as I know, they don't have to be licensed in Belize.
Now,
there's no licensing.
I appreciate what you're saying in terms of accountability, because there's always one or two people out there who have a bad experience and they kind of generalize that it means everybody in the profession is the same. What are some of the code of ethics that are fundamental to people who are engaged in social work?
I will say,
Kathryn should know this.
If she can get over her nerves, squeeze that finger.
when it comes to the confidentiality,
Yes.
Whereby whatever a person will share with you shall remain confidential unless there is harm to self, harm to others. And actually sticking to what you know that is in that code of ethics, in working with other people when it comes to not judging, being judgmental, being biased or
having any form of bias, And there's also kind of like boundaries that you have to set up. There's the professional work that you do, and even though sometimes you're so personally affected, you do have to remain objective.
Right, remaining objective and having that non-discrimination as always. Right. A social worker doesn't bring in the religion, for example. We don't say, and I always use that the right and wrong, because we are not anyone to say what is right or what is wrong, but we look at the individual and we take from the individual what is it that individual wants to change. Whether that individual is lesbian, gay, that is not our values. So we have to take in the values of that individual, and that is very difficult to do. And a lot of our students say, Miss, I can't do this. We hear different things coming out when we're teaching about this, that how can I do this, because I've grown up in a Catholic home, let's say, and I've always known that you shouldn't, that is wrong, it's in the Bible. But it's not, we have to take it on their perspective. Is it wrong for them? It's not. So then we cannot say, we cannot use that.
And fundamentally, it's about the well-being of the individuals itself. Now, we have seen in Belize where there are quite a number of community organizations that have started. There was quite a bit of heavy criticism at one point on the police-led mediation efforts. And a part of it, if we're to separate issues there with that one, a part of it was fundamentally about the necessity of being trained personnel working with persons at risk. Now, we are not pointing fingers at anybody, but what are the potential risks that are associated when somebody who is untrained works with somebody who is vulnerable?
I think what it does, it causes more harm than good for that person. And a good example is in working with someone who is at risk for suicide. Telling them probably just telling them something that you think that is what they need, but it's not, and not being able to help that person to catch on to that, and having that person and end their lives without you, and you're saying, what did I do wrong? So those are some risks that we take as well. Again,
or people who work with children or at-risk people and just ended up taking them all into their homes.
Right, the professional boundaries, the boundaries, and how, you know, as a social worker, you should always maintain that boundary, not saying, okay, I want to help you, and in order for me to create that relationship, that bond, what I'll do, I'm going to be your friend. No, we create that bond, but on a professional level, not on a, I'm your friend and I'll give you advice. And that is something a lot of our intro students come in with the idea that I want to help, so I want to give advice. No, we do not give advice. And that's not, you know, we help them to create their plan. Through the helping process, we create their plan. We help them creating their plan and how they want to change.
Now, let's talk about what the screening process is for social workers in the program itself. Because when people gravitate towards a helping profession, one of the first things I know that you try to look at is their reasons why, and sometimes they have their own hurt or challenges or lingering trauma that they have to overcome as well. So what is the process to ensure that a person is fit to help another?
Well, and you're right, a lot of social workers, myself included, we go into, and I remember in graduate school, it's the same question, that we all have something that motivated us, that gave us that passion to want to help others, because something probably either happened to you or it happened to a family member. And so we want to create change. We don't want that to happen to others. A very important aspect of that is you being able to seek help as well from someone, whether it's someone in the clinical setting, whether it's a counselor, whether it's a clinical social worker, but being able to process what you're going through and with that person as well. And remembering self-care. Self-care is very important in the profession of social work as well, because we don't want if you're not able to take care of yourself, if you're burning out, you're not able to take care of someone else.
Okay. So going back to the conference, is this a conference specifically for social workers and community workers?
It is, but it's open to, we're opening it up to our stakeholders as well, our community organizers. We're opening up to our partners, to other social service agencies. So it's a conference and an exhibition. At the exhibition, we have a few community organizers, such as the U.S. Embassy will be there, the Ministry of Health, to name a few, the Inspiration Center, our Circle, and a few of our partners that have been working. Our t-shirts. We are going to be selling our t-shirts through the Social Work Student Association, and the proceeds of the shirt go towards the association to help us to continue doing events such as these, positive events such as this.
And that's a great segue to Erin about your association. So tell us all about it.
Well, the Social Work Student Association is actually a hub that prepares social workers who are the future social workers in taking that step forward in their professions, and also it encourages students to be themselves and to scope different problems that they're facing, and it actually gives a voice to the students. And they advocate on behalf of the students, where the students will voice their concerns, what they're having in the school, and the president along with the members, they will go to the dean or to the university chairperson or the social work chair and voice those concerns. So we have many initiatives in working with the communities and working with the people on a broad spectrum, and we actually have a billboard where we update the social work students on events that are taking place and activities on a worldwide or even in our nations, what they're having from different agencies, and invite them to be a part of the change that we want to see.
Erin, what are some of the roles that you and your fellow students see yourself filling in the future? Let's start with you personally.
For me personally, as I mentioned before, I want to be an advocate, a change agent. I want other people to see and know, you know what, social work is a good field. It doesn't have to be about the money. It doesn't have to be about what you gain. But when you're looking back and see that you have done something in actually educating a person or seeing a change in their life, you will realize and have that self encouragement and feel that you have accomplished something in life.
Okay. And if there was one job that you saw yourself in, what would it be?
I want to do counseling.
Okay, so you want to be a professional counselor. So what does that mean? After social work, you can do counseling?
Usually it's after having a master's in social work,
Okay.
then you're able to do clinical counseling.
Clinical.
Right. However, and that's usually the process.
Yes.
Right. You get a certificate, you get as certified social worker, and it takes you a few years to get into the LCSW. Now that's a process that we take from the United States. In Belize right now, we don't have that. We don't have anything.
Yeah.
So a lot of our students come in, they want to do clinical work, and they tell us, oh, they want to do counseling.
Yeah.
And it's hard to tell them that counseling, it's a different profession.
Yeah.
Social work, what you could do is clinical social work.
Yeah.
And that is what we do. So I think one thing that the Belize National Association of Social Workers would like to do is to offer training that will help students coming out from our Bachelor's of Social Work program to get there, to get at this clinical level.
It's important so people can differentiate the work itself. What about some of your other students or association members? What are some of the professions that they see themselves getting into, since it is not just talking about being the social worker who works directly in intervention processes with the family?
For the other students, I would believe they also want to be change agents and to raise awareness to the public and to other students of issues that are affecting us on a whole. And as I mentioned earlier, that when it affects one, it affects all. So I believe they also want to be a change agent.
Okay. So Zelia, let's talk about the details of the conference and the times and location.
All right, so we're partnering with the BTEC actually, and we will be having our event at the BTEC.
Okay.
We've booked 2 rooms. We had to do the 2 rooms, one for the conference and one for the exhibition itself. We're hoping that we're inviting all social workers, community organizers, partners. We're inviting our past students that are currently working as social workers, or even if you're not one of our past students, but you're working as a social worker, come to our event. Learn about what is macro social work. Learn about how can we make a difference through macro social work, through program development, through policy. Right? So we want to invite people to come out. It will be on Thursday, March 30th. It begins at 8 a.m. We have the registration. You could also register online at our, you could find, it's an Eventbrite page, but you can find it on our Facebook page, the Belize National Association of Social Workers Facebook page, and it runs through until 4 p.m. Now, it's a free event, so we won't be serving lunch, but we will have lunch on sale, and that would be through the Social Work Student Association. So if you come, you buy your lunch, they'll have snacks, chips and dip, they'll have a lot of different pastries. So we're inviting people to come out and support them as well, because all that they have come up with is through donations, and then that will be giving back to their association. You purchase a shirt, it gives back to the student association as well.
All right. And definitely a wonderful initiative coming out here. And I love the fact that you're taking it to the wider community rather than keeping the focus on, and we know you work on all levels when you're a social worker, but we do have to remember the collective responsibility that we have.
Yeah, we're inviting high schools as well to come to the exhibition, to bring your students out, to learn about what the social service agencies and what they do, what are the services offered in Belize.
Okay. Well, ladies, thank you for stopping in. The Social Work Conference takes place on Thursday here in Belize City at the B-Tech building, and we definitely encourage you to stop by. There's going to be quite a number of presentations that will take place looking at the overall situation in the country and then moving into what you hope to formalize as well. And best of luck with the association as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead now and take our break. And when we come back, we'll be talking to a youth advocate about her support group that she started on Facebook called Dear Teenage Girls. Stay tuned.